Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the large viewing window. The ship had been traveling for 3 months, deeper into space than any human had ever gone before. This was humanity's first real journey to find other life among the stars. "Commander, we're picking up something strange," said Lisa Rodriguez from her position at the tactical station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she studied the readings. "There are ships out there, big ones." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The display showed several large objects moving in formation near a distant planet. They were clearly artificial, not natural space rocks or debris. "How many ships, Lisa?" "At least 12, sir, maybe more." "They're huge compared to us." Lisa's voice carried a mix of excitement and worry. "I've never seen anything like them." Paul Carter, the chief engineer, looked up from his station. "The energy readings are off the charts, Commander. Oh, ships have power sources we can't even understand yet." Amy Watson, who handled all communications for the ship, suddenly spoke up from her corner of the bridge. "Commander, I'm getting a signal. It's coming from the alien ships." She pressed her earpiece closer and listened carefully. "It's not in any human language, but our computers are trying to translate it." Jake felt his heart beating faster. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with alien life. "Put it on the main speakers, Amy. Let's all hear what they have to say." The bridge filled with strange sounds that slowly became words as the computer worked to translate them. "Unknown vessels, you will stop your movement immediately. State your purpose in Zephyrian space." "Zephyrian," Jake repeated quietly. That's what they call themselves. He straightened his uniform and nodded to Amy. "Open a channel. Let me talk to them." Amy's hands moved over her controls. "Channel open, sir." Jake took a deep breath. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Defiance. Come in peace from the planet Earth. We're explorers, seeking to meet new life and learn about the galaxy." There was a long pause before the response came. "Earth vessels, you are in violation of Zephyrian territory. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." "Wait," Jake said quickly. "We didn't know this was your territory. We mean no harm. Perhaps we could meet and discuss this peacefully." Another pause, then a different voice spoke. This one sounded more important, more commanding. "I am War Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian fleet. Your species is unknown to us. You will surrender your vessel and submit to our authority, or you will be destroyed." Lisa looked at Jake with wide eyes. "Commander, their weapons are powering up. All 12 ships are targeting us." Jake raised his hands, even though the aliens couldn't see him. "War Commander Vextar, we don't want to fight. We're peaceful explorers. Surely we can talk about this like civilized beings. Civilized... das." Translated voice sounded confused and then angry. "Would you dare to question Zephyrian? Civilization. You will submit now or face the consequences." Paul Carter whispered urgently, "Commander, our shields are only at basic power. Those ships could destroy us in seconds." Jake made a quick decision. "Amy, send them our basic cultural information. Show them we're a peaceful species. Send images of our cities, our art, our families." "Sending now, sir," Amy replied, her fingers flying over the controls. They waited. Jake could feel sweat on his forehead as the seconds passed. Finally, Vextar's voice returned, but now it sounded even more angry. "Your images show weakness. Your people live in comfort without the strength of war. You're exactly what we expected from a primitive species. You have 1 minute to surrender." "Primitive?" Jake felt his own anger rising. "We've traveled across the galaxy to meet you. We've built ships that can cross the stars. How does that make us primitive?" "You show us images of peace," Vextar replied. "Peace is for the weak. Only through conquest do species prove their worth. You will learn this when you serve the Zephyrian Empire." Lisa's voice cut through the conversation. "Commander there. Moving closer. Weapons are definitely charged and ready." Jake realized that talking wasn't going to work. These aliens seemed to only understand strength and violence. "All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Paul, give me everything the engines have." "But Commander," Amy said, Maybe if we try a different approach. No, Amy. They've made their choice. Jake sat down in his command chair and gripped the armrests. They want to see what humans are made of. Let's show them, Lisa asked. Route all power to engines and weapons. Even life support if you have to. Jake's voice grew hard. If they think we're weak because we choose peace, they're about to learn something new. The Defiant suddenly shot forward at maximum speed. Heading directly toward the largest Zephyrian ship, Lisa fired their small weapons at the alien vessel while Paul pushed the engines beyond their normal limits. What are they doing? Vexstar's voice came over the speakers, sounding surprised. They're attacking? Their ship is too small. This makes no sense. Jake smiled grimly. That's right. We don't make sense. Amy, send them this message. Humans don't surrender. The Defiant struck the Zephyrian ship's shields and bounced off, but not before their weapons had caused some damage. Jake immediately ordered a sharp turn to avoid the return fire from the other alien ships. Commander, we can't win this fight, Paul called out as the ship shook from near misses.
We're not
trying to win, Paul. We're trying to survive and learn. Jake watched as the Zephyrians tried to predict their movements. Lisa, use pattern Delta 7. Delta 7. But sir, that's not a real military pattern. It's completely random. Exactly. Do it. Lisa made the ship move in ways that followed. No military logic. It would dive toward a planet and then suddenly shoot upward. They would charge at one ship, then veer off to attack a completely different target. Each move was unpredictable and seemingly without purpose. Their tactics make no sense. Vexter's voice came over the radio, now sounding frustrated. Can we counter movements that follow no pattern? The Defiants managed to damage 2 more Zephyrian ships before Jake finally ordered a retreat. Paul, jump us out of here. Random coordinates as far as we can go. As the stars stretched into lines, and they escaped into faster-than-light travel, Jake looked around at his crew. They were all breathing hard, but they were alive. Amy, did you record everything? Yes, sir. Every word, every ship movement, every weapon signature. Good Earth needs to know what we're dealing with. Jake stared out at the moving stars. The Zephyrians just learned that humans are full of surprises. Behind them, in the space they had left, War Commander Vexstar stared at the empty space where the human ship had been. For the first time in his military career, he had no idea what had just happened. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat at the head of the long table in the Global Defense Council building. The room was filled with military leaders, scientists, and politicians from every nation on Earth. 3 weeks had passed since the Defiants returned. With news of the alien contact, and now humanity faced its greatest challenge, the situation is clear, Admiral Sullivan said, looking around the room. The Zephyrians consider us weak. They think we will be easy to conquer because we prefer peace to war. Commander Morrison's report shows they have superior technology, and more ships than we can count. General Robert Kim from the Asian Defense Force leaned forward. How long do we have before they arrive at Earth? Dr. Richard Hayes, a military strategist who had studied every war in human history, stood up with a tablet in his hands. Based on their ship movements that Commander Morrison recorded, we estimate 6 months. Maybe less if they decide to move. Faster. 6 months to prepare for a war against superior alien technology, said President Martinez from the American delegation. What are our options? Admiral Sullivan activated a large screen that showed Earth's current military assets. We have 47 space-capable warships, most of them converted from civilian vessels. The aliens have hundreds of ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything we can build. So we surrender? Asked Prime Minister Johnson from the European Union. Dr. Hayes shook his head. That's exactly what they expect us to do. Every other species they've conquered followed the same pattern. Negotiate, realize they're outmatched, then surrender to avoid total destruction. But we're not every other species, Admiral Sullivan said firmly. Humans have something the Zephyrians don't understand. We don't follow their rules. Captain Alex Thompson, who had been listening quietly from the back of the room, raised his hand. Admiral, I'd like to volunteer for the first strike mission. First strike. Admiral Kim looked confused. Captain, did you hear the numbers? I can't. Win a direct fight. Alex stood up, his eyes bright with determination. Who said anything about a direct fight? Dr. Hayes, you've studied every human war. What do we do when we're outnumbered and outgunned? Dr. Hayes smiled for the first time since the meeting began. We fight dirty. Admiral Sullivan nodded slowly. Explain your thinking, Captain. Alex walked to the front of the room. Zephyrians expect us to build bigger ships and better weapons. They expect us to meet them in space, with battle formations and honorable combat. They've conquered 17 species who all did exactly that. And President Martinez asked, we don't give them what they expect. Give them something they've never seen before. Alex pointed to the screen showing Earth's ships. We take civilian vessels and turn them into weapons. Not warships, weapons. We use mining ships as bombs. We turn passenger liners into Trojan horses. Make every piece of space junk into a missile. Dr. Hayes pulled up historical data on his tablet. It's the same strategy humans have used for thousands of years. When the Romans conquered Gaul, the Celtic tribes couldn't match Roman discipline in open battle. So they used hit-and-run tactics, attacked supply lines, and made every victory cost the Romans more than they gained. The Zephyrians are like the Romans, Alex continued. They're organized, disciplined, and used to winning through superior force. But they've never faced an enemy that refuses to play by the rules. Admiral Sullivan looked around the room. What kind of resources would you need, Captain? Give me every ship we can spare, but not the good ones. I want the old freight haulers, the mining barges, the ships that are ready for scrap anyway. I want volunteers, people who understand they're not going into a traditional battle. You're talking about suicide missions, General Kim said quietly. Alex shook his head. I'm talking about making the Zephyrians afraid to come near Earth. Every ship they destroy costs them time, energy, and peace of mind. We make them work for every victory until they decide it's not worth it anymore. 2 weeks later, Alex stood on the bridge of a converted cargo ship called the Iron Wolf. His crew included Danny Walsh, a former Marine who had volunteered immediately. When he heard about the mission, and Sarah Kim, a civilian pilot who could fly anything with engines. Captain, we're approaching the outer edge of the solar system, Sarah called from the pilot's seat. Long-range sensors show Zephyrian scout ships moving toward us. Alex looked at the tactical display. 3 alien ships were heading their way, probably expecting to find Earth's main defense fleet. Instead, they would find something much more. Dangerous, Danny. Are the packages ready? Danny grinned as he checked his weapons console. All 20 mining charges are armed and ready, sir. Plus, we've got the surprise cargo in hold 3. Sarah, take us in nice and slow. Make it look like we're trying to run away but can't quite manage it. Running away, but badly. Got it, Captain. The Iron Wolf limped through space like a damaged freight hauler. Its engine sparked and its hull showed signs of hasty repairs. To the Zephyrians, it looked exactly like what they expected from a primitive human vessel. War-Commander Vexstar watched the approaching human ship from his command vessel. After the strange encounter with the Defiance, he had been more careful about human tactics, but this ship seemed normal enough. War Commander, the human vessel appears to be fleeing, but its engines are damaged, reported his tactical officer. Should we destroy it? Vexter studied the readings. No, capture it. I want to interrogate the crew and learn more about human military capabilities. As you command, War Commander. The Zephyrian ships moved to surround the Iron Wolf, preparing to capture it with tractor beams. Alex watched them approach and felt his heart racing with excitement rather than fear. Sarah, on my mark, give me everything the engines have. Danny, prepare to release the packages. Captain, they're locking onto us with capture beams, Sarah reported. Perfect. Now they're exactly where we want them. Alex gripped his command chair. Mark. The Iron Wolf suddenly shot forward at maximum speed, not away from the aliens, but directly toward the largest ship. As it moved, it released 20 mining charges that had been disguised as cargo containers. What are they doing? Dexter shouted. As his ship's alarms began sounding, those containers are explosive devices. The mining charges detonated around the Zephyrian ships. It's not causing major damage, but disrupting their shields and sensors. In the confusion, Alex ordered the second part of his plan. Danny released the cargo. Hold 3 opened, and hundreds of small objects poured into space. They looked like debris, but each one was actually a remote-controlled drone carrying a small, explosive charge. It's impossible, Vexter said as he watched his sensors try to track hundreds of tiny targets. How can they control so many individual weapons? Video game technology, Alex said with a smile, though the aliens couldn't hear him. Every human teenager has been training for this their whole lives. The drone swarm attacked the Zephyrian. Ships from every direction. Each one controlled by a different human operator back on Earth through quantum communication links. The aliens found themselves fighting not one ship but hundreds of tiny attackers that moved with no predictable pattern. Sarah spun the Iron Wolf through the battle, dodging alien fire while Danny coordinated the drone attacks. The ship's hull took several hits, but Alex kept him moving. "Captain, we're getting calls from other human ships," Sarah reported. "They want to know if they should join the fight." "Tell them to stay back and watch," Alex replied. "This is a demonstration, not a battle." After 10 minutes of chaotic fighting, Alex ordered a retreat. The Iron Wolf and its drone swarm pulled back, leaving the Zephyrian ships damaged but not destroyed. Vextar stared at the tactical display showing the human ship escaping. His 3 vessels had taken significant damage from what appeared to be a single cargo hauler and a swarm of tiny machines. "War Commander, should we pursue them?" Vextar was quiet for a long time. "No, send a message to the fleet. Tell them that human tactics are unlike anything we have encountered before. We need to reconsider our approach." Back on Earth, Alex and his crew received a hero's welcome. But more importantly, they had sent a message to the Zephyrian Empire. Humans would not be conquered easily. Every battle would be stranger and more difficult than the last. Admiral Sullivan reviewed the mission reports with satisfaction. "Phase 1 complete," she said to Dr. Hayes. "Now the real work begins." Lieutenant Colonel Maria Gonzalez checked her equipment one last time as the transport ship approached the massive Zephyrian dreadnought. Her team of 12 volunteers sat around her, each one wearing a modified mining suit that had been turned into makeshift armor. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy their ship," Maria said, looking at each face in turn. "We're trying to capture it. The Admiral wants to know how their technology works, and more importantly, we want to show them that nowhere is safe from humans." Chris Brown, her demolitions expert, patted the bag of mining explosives at his side. "Colonel, these charges aren't designed for spaceship walls. We're basically using construction tools to fight a war." "It's exactly the point, Chris. They expect military weapons and tactics. Instead, they get construction workers who decided to become soldiers." Maria smiled grimly. "Jennifer, how are our medical supplies?" Jennifer Lewis, their combat medic, checked her aid kit. "I've got everything I need to keep us alive, Colonel. I still think this plan is crazy." "Crazy is what we do best," said Sergeant Kevin Murphy, the team's communications specialist. "The aliens haven't figured that out yet." Their ship, the Wolverine, was another converted civilian vessel. This time, it was an old asteroid mining platform that had been fitted with basic weapons and a lot of extra armor. It looked like just another human cargo hauler trying to sneak past their lines. "Colonel, we're being scanned by the target ship," reported the pilot, Captain Linda Torres. "They're not taking us seriously. Their weapons aren't even powered up." Maria looked out the small window at the enormous alien vessel. It was 10 times larger than their ship and bristled with weapons that could destroy them in seconds. Your butt. Size wasn't everything, and the Zephyrians were about to learn that lesson the hard way. "Take us in close, Linda. Make it look like we're going to ram them." "Ram them?" Captain Torres looked surprised. "Colonel, that would be suicide." "No, ramming them would be suicide. What we're going to do is much worse." Maria turned to her. "Team, everyone ready? Remember, once we're inside their ship, we follow no rules except our own." The Wolverine accelerated toward the Zephyrian dreadnought, its engines glowing brightly as if it was making a desperate attack run. The alien crew watched with confusion as the small human ship approached. "War Commander, the human vessel is on a collision course," reported the tactical officer on the Zephyrian ship. "Should we destroy it?" War Commander Vextar, who had been transferred to this larger ship after his previous encounters with humans, studied the approaching vessel. No, let me see what they're planning. Activate shields and prepare for impact. At the last second, the Wolverine fired magnetic grappling cables that locked onto the alien ship's hull. Instead of crashing, it pulled itself against the dreadnoughts. Sighed like a parasite attaching to a whale. What are they doing? Vexter demanded. His answer came when the humans began cutting through the hull with industrial plasma torches. Within minutes, it burned a hole large enough for their team to enter the alien ship. Maria led her team through the hole and into a Zephyrian corridor. The air was breathable, though it smelled strange. Emergency lights flashed red, and she could hear alien voices shouting in the distance. Chris, seal that hole behind us. We don't want them to know exactly where we came from. Chris quickly welded the hole shut with his torch, trapping the human team inside the enemy ship. Now they had to complete their mission or die trying. Kevin, can you tap into their communications? Sergeant Murphy pulled out a device that looked like a modified radio. Working on it, Colonel. Your system is weird, but I think I can get us connected. The team moved through the alien corridors, using hand signals to communicate. The Zephyrian ship was huge and maze-like, with passages that seemed designed for beings much larger than humans. Colonel, I'm picking up alien patrol teams, whispered. Private Tony Martinez, their scout. 3 groups, heading this way from different directions. Perfect. Time to show them how humans fight inside their own ships. Maria pulled out what looked like a simple construction hammer. Everyone, remember, we're not soldiers. We're angry construction workers with power tools. The first group of Zephyrian warriors rounded the corner, expecting to find human soldiers with military weapons. Instead, they found Maria's team armed, with mining equipment, welding torches, and industrial tools that had been modified for combat. The aliens hesitated for a crucial second. Confused by what they were seeing, that second was all the humans needed. Chris threw a mining charge that stuck to the wall and exploded, not to kill the aliens, but to create a cloud of smoke and debris. In the confusion, humans attacked with their improvised weapons. Jennifer used a medical laser cutter to disable alien weapons while Tony swung a powered drill like a battle axe. The Zephyrians had trained to fight soldiers, not workers, and their combat doctrine had no response to humans who fought with construction equipment. This is impossible, one of the aliens said in their translated language. How can they fight with building tools? Because we're humans, Maria replied, as she used her hammer to smash an alien control panel. We turn everything into a weapon. The team fought their way deeper into the ship, leaving disabled systems and confused aliens behind them. Their goal was the ship's main computer core, where they could steal technology data and plant a virus that Kevin had written. Colonel, I've got access to their internal communications, Kevin reported as they moved through another corridor. You want to hear what they're saying about us? Put it on speaker. The team listened to panicked alien voices discussing the human invaders. The words that came through the translator were frightening. They fight like mad beasts. Their weapons make no sense. How do we stop enemies who use maintenance tools as battle gear? They're scared, Jennifer said with surprise. These big scary aliens are actually afraid of us. Good, Maria replied. Fear makes people make mistakes. They reached the computer core after fighting through 2 more alien patrols. The room was enormous, filled with technology that hummed with unknown energy. But to Maria's team, it just looked like another workplace that needed some modifications. Chris, plant your charges around the power couplings. Kevin, get into their computer system. Everyone else, watch for more aliens. Colonel, this is taking too long, Private Martinez warned. They're bringing heavy weapons. Then we better work faster. Maria used her hammer to smash through an alien control panel, exposing the circuits inside. Jennifer, can you use your medical tools to cut these connections? You want me to perform surgery on their computer? Why not? Circuit is just electronic. Biology. As Jennifer carefully cut alien computer circuits with surgical precision, Kevin uploaded his virus through a modified tablet computer. The virus was designed to make the alien ship's systems randomly malfunction, turning their own technology against them. Load complete, Kevin announced. And I've downloaded their technical manuals. Earth's engineers are going to love this. Charges. Set, Chris reported. But Colonel, When these go off, this whole section of the ship will lose power. Including life support, Jennifer added. We need to get back to our ship fast. The team ran through the alien corridors as Chris's charges began exploding behind them. The Zephyrian ship shuddered, and lights flickered as major systems failed. Behind them, they could hear aliens shouting orders and trying to organize damage. Control. They reached their entry point just as War Commander Vexstar arrived with a large group of warriors. The alien commander stared at the humans in disbelief. You used construction tools to invade my ship, he said through the translator. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare. Maria smiled as she backed toward the hole her team had. Cut, who said we were civilized? We're humans. We make up the rules as we go. The team escaped back to the Wolverine as the Zephyrian dreadnought continued to malfunction around them. Kevin's virus spread through the alien computer systems, causing random failures that would plague the ship for weeks. As they flew away, Maria looked back at the massive alien vessel that was now listing to one side and sparking with electrical. Problems, Colonel. Mission accomplished, Kevin reported. We've got their technical data. Their ship is crippled. And I think we just gave War Commander Vexstar the worst day of his military career. Maria nodded with satisfaction. Good now. He knows that humans can reach him anywhere, anytime, with nothing but the tools we use to build our cities. Back on the damaged dreadnought, Vexstar stared at the hole the humans had cut in his ship's hull. For the first time in his long military career, he was beginning to understand that this war was unlike anything his species had ever faced. Sir, what are your orders? His tactical officer asked. Vexstar was quiet for a long time. Send a message to High Command. Tell them that human warfare is not warfare at all. It is something else entirely. War Commander Vexstar stood alone in his private quarters aboard the flagship of the Zephyrian fleet. Through the large window, he could see the distant blue dot that was Earth. For 6 months, his forces had been fighting the humans, and nothing had gone according to plan. The door chimed, and his aide entered carrying a datapad. War Commander, the casualty reports from today's engagement. Vexstar took the pad without looking at his aide. The numbers told a story that made no sense by any military standard he knew. 17 ships damaged, for completely disabled. And 0 human vessels destroyed? Yes, sir. The humans used another new tactic. They converted passenger ships into decoys that projected false energy signatures. When our forces attacked them, they turned out to be empty shells filled with explosives and signal jammers. Vexstar set down the pad and rubbed his temples. And our crews? Many are requesting transfers to other campaigns, sir. They say fighting humans is affecting their mental health. Dismissed, Vexstar said quietly. When he was alone again, he activated his personal communication system and sent a message he never thought he would send. Earth vessels, this is War Commander Vexstar. I request a meeting to discuss terms. 3 days later, Admiral Kate Sullivan received the alien commander's message. She was in the Global Defense Council building reviewing reports from the latest battle when the communication arrived. Admiral, you need to hear this, said her communications officer. It's from the Zephyrian fleet commander himself. Admiral Sullivan listened to the translated message twice before she fully believed it. He wants to talk? After 6 months of trying to conquer us? Colonel Steve Martinez, humanity's chief negotiator, had been standing nearby. Admiral, this could be a trap, or it could be exactly what we've been hoping for. Admiral Sullivan replied. Steve, how fast can you get to the neutral meeting point? Give me 12 hours to prepare and I can be there. Do it. And Steve, remember what we discussed? We're not negotiating from a position of weakness anymore. The meeting took place on a small space station that both sides had agreed was neutral territory. Colonel Martinez arrived with a small diplomatic team. A War Commander Vexstar came with only 2 guards. Steve studied the alien commander. As they sat across from each other in the station's main conference room, Vexstar was tall and covered, in dark scales, with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. But what struck Steve most was how tired the alien looked. War Commander Vexstar, Steve began. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. What did you want to discuss? Vexstar was quiet for a long moment, his 4 hands folded on the table. Colonel Martinez, I have been a military commander for 47 of your Earth years. I have led campaigns against 17 different species across 12 star systems. I have never requested a meeting like this before. What makes humans different? That is exactly what I am trying to understand. Vexstar activated a holographic display that showed various battle reports. When we first encountered your species, our analysis was clear. You had inferior technology, fewer ships, and no real military experience with space warfare. Victory should have been simple. Steve nodded. That's probably what it looked like. But nothing about fighting humans has been simple, Vexstar continued. Your people do not follow any known patterns of warfare. You turn civilian equipment into weapons. You use strategies that make no logical sense but somehow work anyway. Can you give me an example? Vexstar touched the holographic display, and it showed a recording of one of the recent battles. 3 days ago, your forces attacked our supply convoy with fishing nets. Fishing nets. Modified fishing nets launched from cargo ships. They tangled our engines and weapon systems while your fighters attacked from multiple directions. We lost 6 ships to an enemy using equipment designed to catch sea creatures. Vexstar's voice carried a mixture of frustration and something that sounded like admiration. Steve tried to keep his expression neutral, but inside, he was proud of human creativity. War Commander, are you saying you want to surrender? No, Vexstar said immediately. Zephyrians do not surrender. But I am saying that continuing this war will change my people in ways that I cannot accept. I don't understand. Vexstar stood up and walked to the window that showed the stars. For generations, Zephyrians have prided ourselves on honorable warfare. We fight with discipline, strategy, and respect for our enemies. But fighting humans has forced us to abandon everything we believe about proper military conduct. How so? Counter your unpredictable tactics. My commanders have begun suggesting equally unpredictable responses. They want to use civilian ships as weapons, just like you do. They want to abandon military formations and fight like... Vexstar paused, searching for the right word. Like humans? Steve suggested. Yes, and if we do that, if we change our entire way of thinking to match yours, then we will no longer be Zephyrians. We will become something else entirely. You are forcing us to evolve, and that frightens my high command more than any weapon you could build. Steve leaned back in his chair, beginning to understand. So this isn't really about winning or losing the war. No, this is about what kind of species we want to be. Vexstar returned to his seat. I have been ordered to inform you that the Zephyrian Empire will withdraw from this sector of space. Human territory will be marked as a restricted zone. Like that? After 6 months of fighting? Colonel Martinez, in 47 years of military service? I have learned to recognize when an enemy cannot be defeated through conventional means. But this is the first time I have encountered an enemy that defeats itself by changing everyone around it. Steve thought about this for a moment. War Commander, can I ask you something personal? You may ask, what was the moment when you realized this war was different? Vexstar was quiet for a long time, his alien features unreadable. Finally, he spoke. It was during the boarding action on my ship. When I saw your Colonel Gonzalez and her team fighting with construction tools, I realized that humans do not see a distinction between building and destroying. You approach warfare the same way you approach any other problem that needs solving. And that's a bad thing? It is terrifying, Vexstar said simply. Most species fight to protect what they have built. Humans fight by building new ways to fight. You do not just adapt to war, you make war adapt to you. Steve nodded slowly. So what happens now? Now I return to my fleet and we leave your space. The High Command will issue warnings to other species about human capabilities. Vexstar stood up again, but first, I must ask you something. Do you understand what you have done here? We defended our home? No, Colonel. You have changed the nature of warfare itself. Every species that learns about this conflict will have to reconsider how they think about military strategy. You have made war itself evolve. Steve stood up as well. Is that why you're really leaving? Not because we're too strong, but because we're too strange? Vexstar looked directly at Steve with all 4 of his eyes. Colonel Martinez, fighting humans has been a pure nightmare. Not because you are stronger than us, but because you make us question everything we thought we knew about conflict. Turn tools into weapons, strategies into chaos, and somehow make it all work. And that scares you? It should scare everyone, Vexstar replied, including you. 3 hours later, Steve was back on Earth, reporting to Admiral Sullivan and the Global Defense Council. He had delivered the news that the alien fleet was withdrawing, but the room was strangely quiet. Admiral Steve said, "We won, but I'm not sure we should celebrate yet." "Why not?" asked President Martinez. Steve looked around the room at all the human leaders. "Because War Commander Vexstar made me realize something. We didn't just defend Earth. We changed how everyone in the galaxy thinks about warfare. I'm not sure all of them are going to be as reasonable as the Zephyrians." Admiral Sullivan nodded thoughtfully. "You think other species will see us as a threat?" "I think other species will see us as something that doesn't fit into their understanding of how the universe works. And that makes us either very valuable allies or very dangerous enemies." Dr. Helen Carter, a xenopsychologist who had been studying the alien psychology reports, spoke up. "Steve's right. The Zephyrians are withdrawing not because they lost, but because they're afraid of what they might become if they keep fighting us." Admiral Sullivan looked out the window at the stars. "And we better start preparing for the next visitors, because something tells me word about humans is going to spread quickly." Outside, the stars twinkled peacefully, but everyone in the room knew that humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in a way that could never be taken back. They had shown that humans were unlike any other species, and that was both their greatest strength and their most dangerous. Vulnerability, the age of human isolation, was over. What came next would depend on whether the galaxy saw them as friends or as the strangest threat they had ever encountered.